My family told me to get over my brother getting my girlfriend pregnant. I spiraled for a time, but then I choose to rebuild and move 1,000 miles away instead. It was raining. November in the city meant freezing water that soaked through wool coats and numbed fingers in minutes. It smelled of wet asphalt and exhaust fumes. Ryan stood on the sidewalk across the street from the brownstone. He knew the building well. His name was the only one on the lease. He had paid the security deposit. He signed the lease. He paid the rent every month from his personal account. He watched the window of the second-floor unit. The curtains were thin, cheap linen he had bought at Target. Being on the second floor, he could see into the living room from where he stood. 2 people were moving inside. One was pacing back and forth, fast, jagged silhouette. That was Kyle, his older brother. Kyle paced when he was cornered, when he was trying to think of a lie. The other figure sat on the arm of the beige sofa, head in her hands. That was Jess. Ryan stood still. He didn't blink. The water dripped from his hair, running down his neck and soaking his collar. He couldn't feel his toes. His phone buzzed in his pocket against his thigh. It had been buzzing for 20 minutes. The screen lit up in the darkness of his pocket. Mom. He stared at the wet pavement. He didn't want to answer. He knew what she would say. She was the family diplomat, the one who smoothed over cracks until the foundation rotted. He slid his thumb across the screen and put the cold glass to his ear. He didn't speak. Ryan. His mother's voice was high, tight with anxiety. Ryan, pick up. Kyle called me. I'm here, Ryan said. His voice sounded like it belonged to someone else, rough, scraped raw. Where are you? I'm outside the apartment. Don't go up there, she said immediately. The panic in her voice was sharp. Ryan, listen to me. Do not go up there. You're angry. You'll do something you regret. Ryan looked at the window. Kyle had stopped pacing. He was standing in front of Jess, his hands moving, explaining, justifying. They're in my apartment, Mom, Ryan said. My brother and my fiancé are in the apartment I pay for. I know, she said. I know it looks bad, but shouting won't fix it. Kyle says, he says they're serious. He says Jess is pregnant. Ryan felt his stomach drop. It wasn't a figure of speech. He felt a physical lurch of nausea, like the sidewalk had just dropped 3 feet. Pregnant, he repeated. It's a complicated situation, his mother said, her voice shifting into management mode. She used this tone when Kyle wrecked cars or lost jobs. But we have to be practical. We are a family. We have to keep the peace. You're all family. He slept with my fiancée, Ryan said, in my bed, the bed I bought. He made a mistake, she said, but he's your brother. And if there's a baby, Ryan, you have to be the bigger man. You always are. You can't just throw them out on the street. Kyle doesn't have the money for a deposit right now. He's between checks. Ryan gripped the phone. His knuckles turned white. The rain lashed against his face. You want me to let them stay? Just until they get on their feet, she said. For the family. Please, Ryan, don't be difficult. Ryan looked up at the window one last time. Kyle was hugging Jess now. The golden child, getting exactly what he wanted, protected by the people Ryan had spent his life trying to please. I'm not being difficult, Ryan said. I'm done. He hung up. He put the phone back in his wet pocket. He turned around and walked away from the brownstone. He didn't go up to get his furniture. He didn't go get his clothes. He walked 3 miles in the rain to a cheap motel on the edge of the city, listening to the sound of his own shoes squelching on the concrete. The new apartment was a studio basement unit with one window that looked out at a brick wall. It smelled of mildew, stale takeout, and unwashed sheets. Ryan sat on the edge of a mattress on the floor. It was 2 p.m. on a Saturday. The room was dark. He had lost 15 pounds. His clothes hung off him. His beard was patchy and unkempt, itching against his neck. He wasn't working. He had called in sick for 3 weeks straight. He spent his days staring at the wall, counting the cracks in the plaster, replaying the conversation with his mother. Keep the peace. Be the bigger man. The lock on the front door clicked. Ryan didn't look up. He had given a spare key to Jay when he moved in, mostly so someone would find the body if the gas leaked. The door swung open. Jay walked in, followed by Sam. They stopped in the doorway. Jay kicked a pizza box out of his path. It smells like rot in here, Jay said, wrinkling his nose. Sam walked over to the window and ripped the blinds open. Gray afternoon light flooded the room. exposing the dust motes dancing in the air and the pile of trash in the corner. "Get up," Sam said. "Leave me alone," Ryan said. His voice was a croak. "No," Jay said. He picked up a trash bag and started throwing empty bottles into it. The glass clinking was deafening in the small room. "We gave you 2 months. 60 days. That's enough mourning for people who don't give a damn about you." "I don't have the energy," Ryan said, lying back down. "We don't care," Sam said. He walked over, grabbed Ryan's arm, and hauled him up. Ryan stumbled, his legs weak from disuse. "Shower," Jay ordered, pointing to the bathroom. "Shave. We're gonna get food. Actual food. Protein." Ryan stood there, swaying. "Why?" "Because Jess posted a photo of the nursery," Sam said brutally. "In your old apartment. They painted it yellow. And Kyle bought a new truck with the money he saved on rent." Ryan felt a spike of heat in his chest. It burned. Hate. It was better than the numbness. He walked into the bathroom. He looked at himself in the mirror. Hollow eyes. Gray skin. He looked like a victim. He turned on the water. Monday morning, he went back to the office. He walked into the logistics firm, where he worked as an analyst. The fluorescent lights hummed. He went straight to the break room. He poured coffee into a styrofoam cup and stared at the black liquid, trying to summon the will to sit at his desk. "You look terrible." The voice was cool, smooth, and utterly unimpressed. Ryan turned. Veronica stood there. She was the director of operations. She was a legend in the building, terrifyingly competent, impossible to please. She wore a charcoal gray suit that fit her tall frame perfectly, but it was her hair that caught the light, long, dark, and glossy, falling in loose waves halfway down her back. It softened the sharp angles of her face, but her eyes were hard. They were dark, assessing, dissecting him like frog in biology class. "Excuse me," Ryan said. "You look terrible," Veronica repeated. She walked to the coffee pot, her movements fluid and precise. She smelled of expensive vanilla and espresso. "You've been sick for 3 weeks. Your numbers are down. You look like you haven't slept in a month." "I've had a rough time," Ryan said, gripping his cup. Veronica poured coffee. She flipped her long hair over her shoulder and turned to face him. She didn't look at him with sympathy. She looked at him with calculation. "I don't care," she said. Ryan stiffened. "What?" "I don't care who broke your heart," she said, her voice steady. "I don't care about your personal life. I run a business. I need results. Right now, you are a liability." She reached into her bag and pulled out a thick blue file folder. She slammed it onto the counter. It slid across the Formica and hit Ryan's hand. "This is the summary of the merger data for the Chicago acquisition," she said. "The raw files are on the server, but it's a mess. The current analyst overlooked $3 million in liabilities because he was lazy. I need someone to tear it apart and find the buried debt." She leaned in slightly. Ryan could see the intelligence in her eyes. It was intimidating. "Fix this," she said, "or I fire you. Or better yet, take that anger I see in your face and put it into this merger. Make me money, Ryan. Success is the only revenge that actually works." She turned and walked out, her long hair swaying against the back of her suit jacket. Ryan looked at the file. He opened it. Rows of numbers. Logic. Something he could control. Something he could win. He picked up the file and walked to his desk. The next 12 months were defined by fluorescent lights and caffeine. Ryan stopped acting like a person with a social life. He focused entirely on the work. It became his religion. He arrived at the office at 8 a.m. sharp every day. He sat at his desk, ignoring the small talk of his coworkers, building complex financial models, hunting for errors like a predator. 3 months into the grind, while reviewing his personal finances, he saw the recurring charge for the brownstone, the apartment where his brother and ex were playing house. He closed his laptop. He stood up. He drove to the leasing office on his lunch break. He wore his new suit. He didn't look like the broken man who had walked away in the rain. He sat across from the property manager. "I'm terminating the lease on the second-floor unit," Ryan said. His voice was flat. "Sir, there's a fee for early termination," the manager said, "and we'll need to inspect the unit." I'll pay the fee today, Ryan said, sliding a check across the desk. And here is the 30-day notice to vacate. The lease is in my name only. I am terminating it effective next month. What about the occupants? The manager asked. They aren't on the lease, Ryan said. That's between you and them. I want my security deposit mailed to this new address. He signed the papers. He paid the fee. He knew what would happen. The landlord would go to the unit and post the notice. Kyle wouldn't have the credit or the cash to sign a new lease. They would have 30 days of panic, watching the calendar count down to 0. Ryan didn't check on them. He didn't call his mother to warn her. He didn't drive by to see the boxes on the curb. He simply cut the cord, took his deposit back, and chose not to know where they landed. He went back to work. Veronica watched him change. She didn't offer praise. She offered challenge. She moved him to the desk, directly outside her glass office. He could see her working inside. She worked harder than anyone. She was often there when he arrived at 8 a.m., her long hair tied back with a silk ribbon, her desk covered in documents. One afternoon, he brought her a risk assessment report. He placed it on her desk. The projection for the third quarter is conservative, Ryan said, but safe. Veronica picked it up. She scanned it. She looked up at him, twisting a pen in her fingers. Safe is boring, Ryan, she said. Dig deeper. Find the leverage. I don't pay you to be safe. I pay you to be right. She handed it back. Their fingers brushed. Her skin was cool. Ryan took it back. He didn't argue. He went back to his desk and worked until 10 p.m. to find the leverage. She brought him into board meetings. She sat at the head of the table, her posture impeccable, while Ryan presented data to men twice his age. When he finished a presentation, she would look at him across the table. A single, almost imperceptible nod. From a woman who gave nothing away. It was high praise. His phone still buzzed occasionally. A text from Mom flashed on the screen. How could you do this to them? They have nowhere to go. Ryan swiped left and hit delete. Then one from Dad. Be reasonable, Ryan. Call us. Ryan deleted that one too. He didn't respond. He didn't argue. He focused on the spreadsheets. By the end of the year, Ryan looked different. His face was lean, hard. He didn't slouch. He walked with a purpose. He was efficient. He was successful. And back in the city, the golden child was learning that without Ryan's safety net, the ground was very hard. It was a Tuesday in November. It was raining again. Ryan was in the office at 9 p.m. The floor was dark, except for his desk lamp and the light from Veronica's office. Ryan. He looked up. Veronica stood in her doorway. She had let her hair down. It cascaded over her shoulders, dark and heavy. She held 2 heavy crystal tumblers and a bottle of Japanese whiskey. Come in here, she said. Ryan stood up. He walked into her office. It smelled of leather and the faint ozone scent of the rain lashing against the large window behind her desk. Veronica poured the drinks, her movements deliberate. She slid a glass across the mahogany desk to him. Sit down, she said, leaning back in her leather chair. She looked tired, but in a way that made her look human for the first time. Ryan sat. He took a drink. The whiskey was smooth and hot. We closed the Chicago deal, Veronica said, studying him over the rim of her glass. Her dark eyes caught the reflection of the city lights. We did, Ryan said. Final papers were signed at noon. The board is happy, she said. They want to open a flagship branch there. A new headquarters to handle the Midwest expansion. It's the right move, Ryan said. Logistically. I'm leading it, Veronica said. Ryan paused. He felt a sudden, sharp pang of loss. If she left, he would be alone in this office. Congratulations. You deserve it. Veronica smirked. It was a small, private thing. I'm not going alone, Ryan. She opened her desk drawer and pulled out a thick envelope. She slid it across the desk. It wasn't a file. It was a plane ticket. Who are you taking as your second? Ryan asked. You, she said. Ryan stared at the ticket. You've outgrown this city, Veronica said, her voice low and direct. She leaned forward, her hair falling around her face. I see you looking at your phone when you think no one is watching. I see the tension in your shoulders. You're efficient, Ryan, but you're dragging an anchor. She took a sip of whiskey, her gaze locking onto his. I don't want to run that place without you. You're the only person here who works as hard as I do. Come with me. Fresh start. Real power. Double your salary. Ryan picked up the ticket. A new city. 1,000 miles away from the apartment he had forced them out of, 1,000 miles away from the wreckage. He looked at Veronica. She was looking at him with expectation, her confidence absolute. She was offering him a lifeline, wrapped in a promotion. "When do we leave?" he asked. Veronica smiled. It reached her eyes this time. "Monday," she said. Chicago was cold, windy, and massive. Ryan leased an apartment on the 40th floor of a glass tower. It smelled of new paint and expensive coffee. He bought leather furniture. He bought art for the walls. He bought a view that stretched for miles. The work was intense. He and Veronica built the new branch from the ground up. They were a terrifying team. She handled the strategy, her mind always 3 steps ahead. He handled the execution, ruthless with the details. They spent 12 hours a day together. The lines blurred. It started with late dinners to discuss strategy, then drinks on the weekend to decompress. Then came the gala. It was a charity event for the Chicago Arts Council. Veronica wore a floor-length gown that was the color of midnight. It hugged her curves in a way office suits never did. Her hair was swept up, exposing the long, elegant line of her neck. She found Ryan near the bar. "You look decent," she said, looking him up and down. "You look incredible," Ryan said, surprised by his own boldness. Veronica didn't deflect. She stepped closer. "Your tie is crooked," she murmured, reaching out. Her fingers brushed his neck as she adjusted his silk tie. Her touch was electric. "Better," she whispered. Later that night, she invited him up to her penthouse for a nightcap. They stood on her balcony, the wind whipping off Lake Michigan. It was freezing, but Ryan didn't feel it. Veronica turned to him. Her hair had come loose from its pins, falling around her face in the wind. She looked wild and beautiful. "You look good here, Ryan," she said softly. "You look focused. You look free." Ryan looked at her. The sharp intelligence, the ambition that matched his own. She wasn't soft like Jess. She was steel. She was a challenge. "I feel free," he said. He leaned in. She didn't pull away. She met him halfway. They didn't announce it to the office. They didn't have to. They were a unit. They drove to work together. They sat next to each other in meetings, a formidable front. Ryan was happy. He had rebuilt his life brick by brick, and he had found someone who understood the value of the mortar. Then the past called. It was a Friday night. Ryan and Veronica were at dinner at a steakhouse. The room was dim, filled with the sound of silverware on china and low conversation. Ryan's phone buzzed on the white tablecloth. He glanced at it. Dead. He frowned. He usually ignored it, but they had called 3 times in the last hour. "Answer it," Veronica said, cutting her steak with precision. She looked bored by the interruption, brushing a strand of dark hair from her eyes. "See what they want. It's ruining the ambience." Ryan picked up the phone. He answered on speaker, keeping the volume low. "Ryan." His dad's voice was breathless, panicked. "Ryan, thank God. We heard you moved. We heard you got promoted." "I'm busy, Dad," Ryan said, keeping his voice level. "What is the emergency?" "It's Kyle," his dad said. Ryan felt nothing. No anger. Just a cold, detached curiosity. "What did he do?" Ryan asked. He's been struggling, Ryan. Ever since they had to leave the apartment 2 years ago. They never got their footing back. They moved into a crappy place, but he lost his job 6 months ago. They fired him for negligence. He wrecked a company vehicle. Ryan looked at Veronica. She raised one sculpted eyebrow, a flicker of amusement on her face. She took a sip of red wine. "And," Ryan asked, "and Jess is pregnant again." His dad rushed on. "The baby is due in a month. But they're broke, Ryan. They spent all their savings trying to stay afloat. The landlord is evicting them next week." "That sounds like Kyle's problem," Ryan said. "Ryan." His dad sounded shocked. "He's your brother. They have nowhere to go. Your mother is sick with worry. We can't take them in. The house is too small." "So you want money?" Ryan said. "He needs a loan," his dad admitted, "just to get into a new place. Or maybe, we heard you're a director now. Can you get him a job at your new branch? He needs a fresh start, too. He's willing to move to Chicago." Ryan laughed. It was a short, sharp sound. "You want me to hire the man who slept with my fiancée?" Ryan asked. "You want me to give him a job?" "It was a mistake," his dad said, his voice rising in desperation. "It was 2 years ago. You have to let it go. Be the bigger man. Ryan looked at Veronica. She set her wine glass down. She shook her head slightly, her expression hard. Don't you dare. Ryan looked back at the phone. No, he said. What? His dad sputtered. No, Ryan repeated. His voice was steady. I listened to you 2 years ago, Dad. You told me to keep the peace. You told me to walk away. So I did. I walked away. I let him have the apartment. I let him have the girl. But when I realized I was the only one paying for it, I took the apartment back. That was me keeping my peace. You threw them out. I terminated a contract, Ryan said. Kyle made his bed. He can sleep in it. If he's getting evicted again, tell him to sell that truck he bought. You can't do this, his dad shouted. We're family. I have a family, Ryan said, looking at Veronica across the table. She was watching him with pride. And I have a life. And neither of them includes Kyle. Ryan, please. I am keeping the peace, Dad. Ryan interrupted. My peace. I'm not saving him. Do not call me for money again. He tapped the red icon. He opened the contact settings. He scrolled down. Block caller. He did the same for his mother. He put the phone face down on the table. The restaurant was quiet around them. Veronica reached across the table. She placed her cool, firm hand over his. Her dark hair fell forward, framing her face as she looked at him. Rough night? She asked. No, Ryan said. He felt lighter, just taking out the trash. Veronica smiled. It was genuine fierce. Good, she said. Order me dessert. I want the chocolate torte. Ryan signaled the waiter. He looked out the window at the Chicago skyline. The lights shone against the black sky. He thought about his brother, packing boxes in the rain. He thought about his parents, realizing that their peace had a price tag they couldn't afford. Ryan took Veronica's hand. He ran his thumb over her knuckles. He decided his brother had his karma. He had his future. He picked up his phone one last time. He opened the camera. He took a photo of the view, the skyline, the wine, Veronica's hand in his. He sent it to the family group chat. The view is great from here. Good luck. Then he left the group.